Welcome once again to Vanilla Thunder Productions, and this is... what are we going to talk about here?
Well, I think we should discuss what you worked so hard on this past week. A three-way comparison of the ECW reunion shows.
Yeah, I went ahead and watched One Night Stand again, watched One Night Stand 2 again, and then went ahead and, because I was feeling kind of bad about myself that night, I watched Hardcore Justice.
And you had ran out of porn and...
Well, I was running out of ways to abuse myself, so I figured I'd abuse my brain and my wrestling sensibilities by watching TNA's... we can't call it an ECW. We can't call it an ECW reunion show. They don't have the rights to that name. And
EV 2.0.
I'll tell you one thing right away that I noticed a lot about Hardcore Justice is that the announcers, in addition to many of the other annoying things they did, could not stop bitching about, oh well, we'd love to call this guy by his real name, but can't, and y'all know why. So. Nope, we'd love to call it this, but we can't.
Can you imagine if Greg Gumbel and Phil Simms bitched about how much they couldn't call Chad Ochocinco Chad Johnson anymore?
Well, yeah.
That would be pretty damn
Let's get this party started here. First of all, I just want to say everything was blue. The lights were dim.
Like us.
And it was blue. Well, okay, yeah, we're blue. But I'm talking about the lighting was like blue the whole time. I don't know why they did that. As far as I remember, ECW was not blue.
They're blue, dabu-dee, do-die, do-dabu-dee.
They really should have done this in the Hammerstein, for the record, or in Philadelphia.
Or anywhere within 300 miles of where the promotion actually ran.
That wasn't the Impact Zone. I understand why they did it in the Impact Zone, but it made the pay-per-view that much worse.
Tells me they did do some shows in Florida, but... Florida is not ECW.
Yeah, no. Alright, the first match we had was the FBI being composed of Guido, Tracy Smothers, and Tony Luke.
Mama Luke!
Yeah, no, we can't use that name.
His name's Mama Luke!
And
what are you telling me?
They had a six-man tag. Weren't we trying to be concise in this one? They had a six-man tag with Kid Cash, Swinger, and Simon Diamond. This match was okay for what it was. I wouldn't have opened the show with it if I were TNA, and I certainly wouldn't have had Simon Diamond interrupt the match in the middle of the match by getting on the mic and admitting that the FBI could out-wrestle his team, but claiming that they could not out-dance his team, and we had an impromptu dance-off in the middle of the match.
Yep.
At an ECW tribute show. This was immediately followed by Taz claiming on commentary, quote, "This is the way it used to be."
Yeah, that's how I remember it. I mean, most of the Rise and Fall DVD was about the dancing.
I thought that was how they determined title matches, was through dance-off in ECW, right? Isn't that what they did?
The only dancing I remember from ECW involved half-naked or almost totally naked women. So,
let's see. Mike Tenay on commentary is wrong, and I was very kind of. It felt weird. Wrong. It didn't work. Let's see. What else did I have here? Kid Cash needed to use the referee to dive over the top rope. The referee got down on the hands and knees so that Cash could dive off him. He somewhat redeemed himself a little bit later on by hitting one of the sickest pile drivers I've ever seen.
Was Kid Cash at the second One Night Stand?
He was the first one.
He was at the first one.
He had a very brief appearance in the first one. He was not at the second one.
In the first one, he was actually just signed by TNA. So the fact that they got him, was a big deal. I think in the second one, he was still with TNA.
Yeah, he was still with them. The
contractually obligated to not appear.
You'll notice that they didn't make a big deal about that in One Night Stand. However,
they didn't go, "Hey, we couldn't bring this guy in. Sorry." Yeah. Please forgive us. And keep watching.
The fans started to chant, "This is awesome." in the opening contest in a match that was very clearly not awesome.
That's the equivalent of chanting "This is awesome" for Chavo Guerrero versus Chris Masters
on Superstars.
This is wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I should just get this out of the way right now. The Impact Zone fans, or Zorons, as I'm calling them now,
Wear stuff on their heads.
Yes.
I love TNA.
They have obviously had too much of TNA's spiked Kool-Aid.
It's free.
I'm sure it's free, but if you go to the Impact Zone, I'm sure the Kool-Aid is free.
The
but
pretty
it also
lady gave it to me.
It also makes you think that you should chant "This is awesome," or "This is wrestling," or "This is hardcore," or "This is classic." For every match on any given pay-per-view, or at least on this pay-per-view, every single match, except for Richards versus Just Incredible.
Oh, no, not Just Incredible.
Sorry, PJ Polacco.
PJ Polacco.
My bad. So there was that. They brought up Joey Styles. The announcers brought up Joey Styles, and
oh my God!
Yeah, we had people saying that, and Taz claimed that Styles would give Mike Tenay his stamp of approval, which doesn't Taz supposedly know Joey Styles well. Anyway,
Taz also knows what the producer told him to say is what he's supposed to say on TV. They pay him well.
They did some Where Are They Now segments involving such classics of ECW fame as Todd Gordon.
Oh, people loved him because he was instrumental in where ECW went.
Pitbull #1, that would be the one that's alive.
Number 2 isn't dead.
Yes, he is.
Perry Saturn's not dead. He resurfaced. He got married.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That was Perry Saturn?
I thought it was.
Perry Saturn was one of the
Pitbulls.
We're not arguing about this now.
I thought so. I don't know.
It was Pitbull #1, regardless. Blue Meanie and Francine were all on that segment, blah, whatever.
Francine does charity events now.
Francine is apparently raising her 1-year-old daughter, which is why she is not on the show. They all apologize for not being on the show, except for, I think, Meanie.
I am not sorry. I am not there. I'm blue. He was too blue for the show. He would have disappeared.
Yeah, that's right. They wouldn't have been able to see him. He'd been like Sheamus in regular lighting. TNA has its own stars talking about what it was like to, watch ECW. A couple of them I thought it was pretty funny. They didn't I don't know who it was, but a couple of people said something like, "Yeah, I didn't watch ECW. I wasn't a real hardcore fan, but I caught a couple of shit." They didn't know what they were supposed to say. It was like, "No, I didn't watch ECW.
I heard about ECW somewhere."
Yeah,
and I heard it was cool.
Oh, but of course they couldn't say ECW, so they kept calling it the Philadelphia promotion, for the record. Which just brings more attention to the fact that you're not in Philadelphia.
That's like when you watch old sitcoms like Roseanne and they're not eating they're not eating Frosted Flakes, they're eating flake food. Like the boxes are all white and black with a picture of it, but they can't say the brand because you're not allowed to talk about that. EC what?
Anyway, so TNA has that. WWE has Rise and Fall, which is the DVD where the ECW guys talk about what ECW was like. So you make the choice of which one.
You make the call.
Yes, fair and biased news over here. We're Fox. Shit, don't sue us.
They'll just shoot you in the face.
That's right, and then I can apologize to them for it.
Exactly. I think this is a good point to stop. We'll do a part 2.
We'll definitely do a part 2. But first, I wanted to just talk about briefly, but the BWO, the can I get quotations in here? The BWO segment. They can't say that either because Vince has copyrighted that too.
Vince copyrighted your ass.
But
Vince copyrighted TNA.
Richards was backstage, and no, he copyrighted HLA. That's what he copyrighted.
Because those 3 letters were fine.
Yeah. Richards was backstage, and Nova showed up and had a substitute Blue Meanie, basically a fat guy in a tiny blue shirt that they had dyed their hair blue. Al Snow was there with Head as well, and I kind of agree with him when he said, "We're done. Stick a fork in me. I'm out of here." And then the fake Blue Meanie had a mutual nose-picking thing with the fake Lupus.
Oh, that's a great place to stop this.
Classy. More momentarily.
More in part 2 with less Lupus.